everyone, and welcome to another edition of 2A Arsenal Roundup News. My name is Richard Espinoza, and I am your host. 2A Arsenal Roundup News is your primary source for Second Amendment news, whether it be good, bad, or ugly, whether it be in blue states or red states. I do my best to keep you informed on what is going on in the Second Amendment community and to help you fight for your Second Amendment rights when needed. You can also follow me on my Podbean podcast. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is Arizona Arsenal. Saturday morning is Saturday Morning Shoot. Well, today I'm going to be talking about something that's going to be very disturbing. And it might get some of your blood pressure going. But I need to let you know about this because this is important, especially if you live in the state of California, my former state. A state I was once proud living in at one time until it went to the deep end. Not only to the deep end, but to the dark side of communism. Just when you thought that California couldn't get any more ridiculous than it already has, just when you think it's bad enough that they have an ass clown for a governor and Gavin Newsom, and another clown as Attorney General Rob Bonta, it's really stooped to an all-time low. It was brought to my attention by U.S Carry that the San Jose Police Department effectively on July 1st will be charging residents a CCW permit, get a load of this, for the price of $1,591. You heard me correctly. $1,591 to exercise your constitutional right. And as far as I'm concerned, this is an act of treason on the part of the San Jose Police Department. There's no argument to that. First, let me say I have tremendous respect for our law enforcement officers. They put their lives on the line every day. They deal with creeps, criminals. They deal with whole messes of walks of life. Some come home throwing up. Some of them come home dizzy. Some of them don't even make it home at all. Some of them kiss their wives and their kids goodbye for the last time, and it's heartbreaking when I see that. And the last thing I want to do is criticize our men and women in law enforcement. That's the last thing I want to do. But when they're doing something wrong and they're violating their oath, they need to be held accountable for it. Because every law enforcement officer is held to a higher standard, especially on day one when they put on that uniform and when they put on the badge. Every law enforcement officer, whether it be in the police department, sheriff's department, highway patrol, every law enforcement officer raises their right hand and swears that they will protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. When you're saying you're protecting the Constitution of the United States, that also means you're protecting the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. You're protecting a free right that should not be charged. Well, that's exactly what the San Jose Police Department is doing, and it's treasonous. I would like somebody from the San Jose Police Department send me an email or give me a phone call and explain to me, where does it say in the Constitution that they have a right to charge a fee on a right that's already free? Where does it say in the Constitution that a law enforcement agency has a right to charge you for exercising your Second Amendment rights? Well, let's go back to the year 1864, 1865, when they had polling tax. They charge you a polling tax to vote. The Supreme Court ruled that you cannot charge a constitutional right or put a price on a constitutional right. Last I checked, gun ownership is a constitutional right. Second Amendment is a constitutional right. And yes, it is aligned with the Bill of Rights. So I asked the San Jose Police Department, where does it say in the Constitution that you have a right to charge anybody a fee. You right there, San Jose Police Department, you're giving law enforcement a bad name for doing something that's so ridiculous. Not only this was brought to my attention from USA Carry, but I also read on bearingarms.com, and this was written by Cam Edwards, formerly from Cam and Company on NRA TV, and he also has his podcast. I've met Cam Edwards a couple times, great man. So I am going to read you what Cam Edwards wrote in bearingarms.com. So again, just follow up with me, and I'm going to read you the details so you can decide if I'm right or if I'm wrong. And it says, San Jose, California is already the home of the most expensive concealed carry permit in the state, but the cost is going to climb even higher on July 1st. Right now, the city charges applicants a whopping $1,491 to obtain a permission to exercise their right to bear arms, but on Wednesday, the rate will increase to $1,591. The city is the only jurisdiction in California to charge for figures to exercise a fundamental civil right. Santa Clara County, where former Sheriff Laura Smith was convicted by a civil jury for running a pay-to-pay scheme involving rarely issued May issues permits a few years ago, is still doing its best to keep the number of active permits low by charging $976 for their initial application fee, along with more cost for mandating physiological tests and firearms training. The California Rifle and Pistol Association and the Second Amendment Foundation is suing Santa Clara County over its fees. If a judge rules the county's out of line, then San Jose's fees could be a chopping block soon after. As the groups allege, their initial complaint, the high price to apply for a permit, is undoubtedly going a chilling effect on residents exercising their rights. What needs to be done, ladies and gentlemen, is that Harmy Dillon needs to get involved in this and needs to get involved quickly. It's time that Harmy Dillon reads the Riot Act to the San Jose Police Department. The San Jose Department should be ashamed of themselves for failing to uphold their oath. As far as I'm concerned, it's treasonous. There's no argument to that. They committed an act of treason. They committed an act of treason against the Constitution of the United States. And this is where law enforcement officers need to be held to a higher standard when they violate the Constitution. Let me remind you, I know just as many good police officers as I know are bad. There are just as many good police officers as there is bad. And I met a lot of great police officers in my lifetime, some of whom I made great friends with. And they take their oath seriously. And I also met some law enforcement officers that have a chip on their shoulder. Some of them have a screw loose. I've dealt with them. I've dealt with both. I've dealt with good and I've dealt with bad. But a lot more good than bad. But I'd like to ask a question to you, my audience. Do you have members in your family who are law enforcement officers? If so, leave a comment down below. And I would like to ask you, did your brother, your sister, your grandpa, or your dad, or your uncle, who is a police officer, do they take their oath seriously? Do they realize that their oath is their bond? Do they realize that lying under oath is the same thing lying to God? Did they swear under a Bible? Is it something they take seriously and not lightly? I would like to hear from you. If you're a retired police officer, I would love to hear from you. I want to know, do you take your oath seriously? And if you are an active police officer or a retired police officer, I want you to be honest with me. Do you believe what the San Jose Police Department is doing is an act of treason against the Constitution? You can leave me a yes, or you can leave me a no. And if you say no, explain to me why it's not treason. Because you took an oath. Every law enforcement officer has taken an oath. My Uncle Ben, God bless his soul, when he was alive, when he was in the California Highway Patrol, he too took an oath and took his oath seriously. He raised his right hand under a Bible and swore that he will defend and protect the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that's something that every law enforcement officer needs to take seriously. But let there be a reminder, too, that not only are law enforcement officers are officers of the law, but there are our constitutional guardians, and they're supposed to be our constitutional guardians. In other words, if they're being ordered to enforce a law that's unconstitutional, they have an obligation to say, no, we will not enforce this law because it does not match with the Constitution. It is unconstitutional, and therefore, we will not enforce it. That's what a good law enforcement officer is. That is an officer with integrity. A person who takes his oath seriously and living up to a high standard. That's what a real police officer does. A real, true, genuine police officer lives up to his high standard when they enforce their laws through the Constitution, not by made-up laws by corrupt politicians. That's what real law enforcement officers are about. And I just want to say to all the brave men and women in law enforcement out there, I support you 100%. Don't get me wrong, I back you. But let's face it, the San Jose Police Department is making you look bad. They're making every law enforcement officers look bad, charging these ridiculous fees. I don't care what anybody says. This is treason. Plain as daylight, it is treason. And whoever in the San Jose Police Department is charging these fees, they need to be subpoenaed and testify in front of a federal grand jury, as far as I'm concerned, and explain why they are charging money on a constitutional right, on a right that was free to begin with. That is why the anti-federalists, before they signed the Constitution of the United States, they butted heads with the Federalists. And neither party was bad. They just had a hard time deciding how they can have a stable government with limited power. That's where they disagreed on. But finally, the Federalists gave in. They knew the only way they can get the Constitution alive is they signed a Bill of Rights. The Federalists were against the Bill of Rights because they said that the Constitution already guarantees you your rights. However, the anti-federalist said back, he says, it may guarantee it, but we want something that is bulletproof, something that cannot be removed or denied. Therefore, we want the first 10 amendments notified as a Bill of Rights, that a right cannot be changed, cannot be argued, cannot be charged, cannot be infringed. So the first 10 amendments cannot be infringed upon a constitutional right. They cannot be infringed. And the Second Amendment clearly says that. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And when you talk about the first part of the Second Amendment, when it says a well-regulated militia being necessary to secure a free state, that means you and I are a militia when tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. When they say shall not be infringed, that means you don't put a price tag on exercising your Second Amendment rights. because the Second Amendment is your carrying permit. Make no mistake about it. And unfortunately, California has, not just California, but San Jose has stooped to an all-time low. What I would like to know, are the members of the San Jose Police Department trying to kiss Rob Bonta's rear end? Are they trying to impress Gavin Newsom? I would like to hear from somebody from the San Jose Police Department. I would like them to either send me an email or they can call me and talk to me on the phone and explain to me, why are they charging people to exercise their Second Amendment rights? It is ridiculous. There's no excuse for it. You don't register. You don't charge on a constitutional right. And San Jose Police Department, as far as I'm concerned, you should be found guilty for treason against the Constitution. If it was up to me, I would find you guilty for treason against the Constitution. If I was a member of a jury, I would vote guilty to the San Jose Police Department for violating a constitutional right. You should be ashamed of yourself, San Jose Police Department. And whoever the police chiefs that's in charge, you too should be ashamed of yourself. You violated your oath, and you need to live up to it. And I hope that Harmy Dillon gets involved in this. Harmy Dillon, as we all know, is the Assistant Attorney General in the Civil Rights Division. She needs to get together with the police chief of San Jose and tell them they either drop these ridiculous fees or a lawsuit will be filed against you. And furthermore, whoever made these fees should be on trial for extortion. That's what I call it, extortion. You're extorting money off a constitutional right. There's no argument to it. Well, that is it for 2A Arsenal Roundup News. If you have any important 2A legislation that you want to report to me and you want to bring it to my attention, please send me an email at RJ Espinoza. That's RJ Espinoza, ESPINOZA .roundupnews@gmail.com. Tell me what you think about my podcast, if you like to. If you want to tell me what this legislation is about that you want me to address, let me know if it's good, bad, if it will benefit your Second Amendment rights or cause an effect. Just tell me what state you're from, how I address your name, by your first name, last name, or both. You let me know, and I will be sure to report it in my next podcast, either on YouTube or on Podbean. So again, you can also follow me on Podbean. Look for Arizona Arsenal / Saturday Morning Shoot on Podbean, and on the screen below shows you what my podcast looks like, so where you can find it on Podbean, and you can listen to my upcoming shows. And again, I'm on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then the Saturday show for Saturday Morning Shoot. Well, until then, be armed, be vigilant, carry your firearm wherever you may go, and remember, the Second Amendment is not just about guns, but it's about freedom, and you have the freedom and the right to protect your family, your home, and your community. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Have a great day, fellow Americans.